This is the first video in which we will discuss about the basic concepts of macroeconomics, because macroeconomics is that part of economics which deals as a whole, or it is also known as aggregate. So in case of basic concept, unless you will not learn the basic concept, it may create some difficulties during a study. So first here, that is the domestic territory. So domestic territory means, in a simple word we can say, the total political areas of any country, that is known as domestic territory. For example, just I want to show you. So suppose this is the lower part of India. So this is the boundary of India, because this is the here, that is the Arabian Sea, here the Bay of Bengal, here that is the Indian Oceans. So in these areas the people are living, and our political leaders are utilizing his own political rules. But except we can say only that this area is a part of domestic territory area, but in the economics it is not considered something that is broader. All those areas may come under the domestic territory. For example, ships and aircrafts owned and operated by the normal residents. So here I want to take a small example. Our Air India is working between Japan and Russia. It means those area will become the part of domestic territory. Second, that is the fishing vessels and floating platforms operated by the residents of a country in international waters, where they have exclusive right to operate. So look here, as I told you, this is the political territories, but on the three sides there are three oceans, that is the Arabian, next Bay of Bengal, next this is the Indian Ocean. So in these oceans a number of fishermen are working. So these fishermen has got the exclusive right to operate in the international water bodies. So that area will also come under the domestic territories. Third, that is the embassies, military establishment of a country located in the world. Here I want to take one example. As you know, America invaded Afghanistan, and some of the military forces are already established themselves in the Afghanistan. So that part will also come under the domestic territory of America. Another example you can take, suppose Indian embassy is located in China. So where that in China, where it is located, it is the part of domestic territory of India, not it is the domestic territory of China. So in this way there is a broader concept of domestic territory. Next, here I have used ships and aircrafts owned and operated by normal residents. So what is the normal residents? So normal residents means all those people or institution whose center of economic interest lies in that particular country. For example, here Microsoft, the owner of the Microsoft is working in India, so that owner may be considered as the normal residents, and his industry which is located in India, that is also a part of domestic territory. So in this way, once again, normal residents means all those people and the institution whose economic interest particular lies in that country, that group will be considered as normal residents. Next one is the factor income, and that is the transfer income. So first we will discuss about the factor income. So what is the factor income? So there are four factors. There are four factors of production. So without using this,
मत बोलना.
so factor income means there are four factors of production. So these four factors are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. So these four factors are involved during the production process. So these four factors also gets the reward, and that reward for land we give rent, for labor that is the wages, for capital we gives interest, and for entrepreneur we give profit. So during the production, so a number of people gets rent, profit, wages, interest, and this is known as factor income. Next one is the transfer income. So transfer income is also known as unilateral. Unilateral means one-sided. Without doing any economic activities, if a person get a particular amount, that is known as transfer income. This transfer income will never be included in national income. So we can take some example of transfer income. For example, first, a number of people in our country are old, they are unable to do the work. As a result, the government gives some compensation. So in other words, we can say old age pension. So old age pension is a part of transfer income. A number of genius students are also in the economy, and the government gives the scholarship to continue his study, so that a scholarship may come under the transfer income. Our parents also give some pocket money, that is also a part of transfer income. So transfer income are those income which does not generate with the help of doing some economic activities. It is just transferred from one person to another person, and it does not create any liabilities. So that's why it will not be included in national income. Next is the final goods. These are those goods which are ready to consume, or in other words we can say final goods are those goods which is beyond the production boundary. So it is ready for consumption. Here we can take some example of final goods. Suppose a baby is utilizing the milk for consumption, so that milk will be considered as final goods. A pen is purchased by a student, so that pen will come under the final goods. Like that, intermediate goods. These are those goods which are within the production boundary. It means the whole production has not been completed. So intermediate goods, all the goods which are in the which are available in the shops for resale, that is a good example of intermediate goods. As I told you, when the milk is purchased by the baby, so that is the final good, but the same milk is purchased by the tea stall only to prepare the tea, so that milk will become the intermediate goods, because some value addition will be taken after the production of tea. Next is the depreciation. Depreciation means wear and tear of fixed assets. Whenever we purchase a machine, we utilize it. So due to wear and tear, its value decline. So whatever the value has declined, that value will be considered as depreciation. Here we can also take one example of depreciation. Suppose a truck is purchased by the owner of a firm and the life expectancy of that truck is 15 years and the cost of that truck is suppose 30 lakhs. So it means within the 15 years the value of 30 lakhs will become 0. So every year the value of truck is declining and that value will be considered as depreciation. Next is the indirect tax. These are those tax which is imposed by the government and its burden can be shifted to the others. Or in a simple word we can say indirect tax are those tax which is imposed by the government either in the production process or for the sale of goods and services. So GST is a good example of indirect tax. Next is the subsidies. Subsidies, basically it is provided by the government for social welfare. When the prices of the commodity will starts to increase, the poor people are unable to utilize it due to high price. In this situation, the government gives some rebates in that products and that rebates will be considered as subsidies. Subsidies is the basically economic assistance which is provided by the government for social welfare. Here we can take one example of subsidies. LPG gas is distributed by the government at a lower price or a subsidized rate. So in this way we can say the goods which are available in the market which price is more and the same good if it is distributed by the government at a lower price, so that difference will be considered as subsidized rate or that is known as subsidies. Okay, thank you. Any problem?